Restorative Justice Partners Incorporated provides support and education to those affected by conflict to encourage accountability, reparation, and empathy.
Restorative justice does not approach it with any sense of revenge or retribution, but only focuses on healing the damage that's been done to all parties involved.
Restorative justice is an approach that helps individuals in a holistic approach involving victim, offender, community, everybody who had a stake in helping them resolve or find solutions to a conflict that, whatever it could be, an offense, a conflict they've had before, it really reaches to the root of whatever the issues may be and help them all find a constructive solution and helps them repair whatever was the harm.
It gives us a broad framework for thinking about harm and thinking about behavior and thinking about punishment. Specific solutions is it gives us tools within that broad framework that you can use at a community level, in a juvenile justice system, at a school, to take those big ideas and make them actionable on the ground in whatever system you're in.
Our trained volunteers work with businesses and youthful offenders, government and nonprofit agencies to resolve conflicts and restore justice.
So, to me, the best thing about restorative justice is that it travels, right?
The Victim Offender Reconciliation Program, or VORP, is a mediated process in which victims of crime have the opportunity to meet the offender in a safe and structured setting and explore how to make things as right as possible.
How VORP works is that there's an intake process. First, we talk with the offenders. If they agree to go through with this program, then we talk with the victims. And we let them know that the offender is willing. If the victim is willing to go through with the process, then we arrange a mediation between the victim and the offender. This is done usually with two mediators.
The context in which I see it in the VORP is a partnership of the victim and the offender and the community. And I feel like the difference that it makes is it involves all of those pieces of the community to reach a resolution.
The point is to talk about what happened, what was the impact on the people involved, why it happened, and how to make things right. And that's a discussion that as much as possible we do need to facilitate to happen between the victim and the offender, because oftentimes for both parties this is a really unusual conversation to have. And even if they're both there willing, sometimes it's not easy to know how to have that conversation. And so the VORP program has a structured process for that mediation.
So it's not the criminal justice system of imposing punishment, but trying to make things right, trying to, for the victim, let them have a say in what happens, and for the offender, some sense of accountability to the victim and understand what that situation has meant to the victim. So it can often, I think, bring a healing by involving all of those different individuals who have an active role to play in the resolution.
A big difference restorative justice can make is in the cost-effective process. 90.1% of kids who go through the VORP process don't recidivate. Restorative justice can help reduce costs, prison costs, even when people, and help youth in the big picture be able to get jobs because they won't have a record if they go through the VORP program. So there's many facets that are just extremely cost effective for now and the future that we don't normally think about.
I don't have the figure of the billions that we spend in this country on incarceration and all that leads to it. But we have become a country in which the response to crime, and as prisons and incarceration of people of all ages has become so much a part of our society that it takes up more than its share of our society's energy, and has become in itself a negative value.
So it seems to be common sense to me to do what we can to try to keep those people out of prison, if applicable. I'm not one who thinks that every individual necessarily deserves a second chance. However, in many contexts, it is beneficial to determine alternative strategies by which you can give people an opportunity to rejoin the communities of which they are a part.
You know, juvenile halls and prisons and jails tend to be places where people who've done bad things go to learn how to be more bad. Prison is part of the cycle. People coming out of prison is part of the cycle. Punishment is a continuation of the cycle. All of these things are steps in continuing the cycle, and restorative justice is an effort to stop that and change the nature of the cycle into something that is about fixing, that is about healing, that is about repairing. Whatever it takes to fix the damage done and to ensure that violence, the momentum of violence stops there.
The Merchant Accountability Program, or MAP, is an innovative application which youth shoplifters are held accountable in a highly successful mediation process that brings groups of 4 to 6 youths together with merchant representatives in a restorative, non-threatening venue.
The MAP program is a program that allows juveniles to resolve shoplifting issues for being a minor crime by coming in, talking to the victim that they did the offense at, and really having a face-to-face conversation on what they did, why they did it, how it affected them, and then they get to learn from the victim representative how it affected the business, how it affected the store, how it affects the community, and it really sheds some light to them on the decisions they make and how it can impact other people. We're taking people that are making last-minute decisions on the spur of the moment and really teaching them how negative decisions and decisions that have integrity issues could affect other people around them, even people that they care about, like their families and their friends. It can really have an emotional impact on parents and other people around them. A lot of parents are really upset and kind of don't know where to take it from there. And it can cause a lot of stress on the minor, having to go home, not know how to explain themselves to their parents, not know how to gain the trust back from their parents. So the MAP program also deals with that by talking to the parents separately, talking to the minors separately, and really kind of opening the doors for it all to kind of have some kind of resolution to it. And the MAP program does a great job by helping that stay off of their actual criminal record.
Restorative Justice in Schools. Students, administrators, and faculty participate in a variety of training sessions and develop and implement practical strategies.
Restorative justice is a process that we use at our school to help students solve conflicts.
Restorative Justice Partners Incorporated has been key in providing the training and support district-wide for all of our school sites, not only for training our certificated staff, but also for training our classified staff, as well as providing training for our students in the peer mediation program.
Giving teachers concrete strategies of how to deal with situations that they may not have encountered before is extremely helpful.
A big picture, it really looks at discipline, right? And preventing students from kind of skipping opportunities where communication can solve the problem and going right to like a detention or even a suspension. Students make bad choices. That happens.
I think students often react immediately. They still are beginning to understand what it means to control emotions and a lot of them don't know what their emotions are and how to handle them, how to deal with them.
I think restorative justice, at least on this campus, is an opportunity for students to communicate and express whether it be frustration or drama, for lack of better words.
9 times out of 10, the issues are something related to communications. I heard a student say this, I heard someone say that. And then it delves into feelings, because they have an opportunity where they can talk about their feelings, which delves in again to communications. They can communicate their feelings, they communicate what is the issue that they need to get off their chest.
I think it's making a big difference because you see kids are not going right into fighting. They're instead going to talk to people more and trying to solve the problem instead of all going crazy and yelling and shouting and talking to other people and creating a bigger mess. They're trying to solve the problem right then and there.
I mean, we know fundamentally school to prison pipeline is alive and well. If a kid is suspended one time, they are 3 times more likely to end up in the juvenile justice system.
The students that have been involved in a restorative justice circle or mediation, there seems to be a heightened level of calmness. There's a calmness when they leave the session, for lack of a better word. When they leave the session, they seem to be a lot calmer. And you know, every high school can use students being a lot calmer. I mean, I think it bodes well for academic achievement.
I can see at the end of each meeting, the students are just so much more calm and they respect each other. And now that everything's out on the table, they're healing in a way.
The peer mediators, I think, the kids, this is the 2nd year we've done it, and I think the students are starting to grasp or have a little bit better understanding now of how they can go to a peer mediator to have them or help them solve a problem.
Can you tell us one thing that you've learned from being a peer mediator?
How to solve problems, to help people with conflicts.
And so when you have a restorative justice mediation or a circle, students can come and get everything off their chest and really clear the air.
I have been using circles. I call it a peace circle, and we have peace circles every Friday, and it's a time for the students to be able to express themselves. They can praise each other. They can also apologize to each other. They can share problems if they're upset with each other, and not just with each other. They can share problems that are things that have gone on in their lives, in their family, with their family, or in their neighborhood. So, in my view, the Peace Circle is a really, really effective way to teach the students, to teach the children how to communicate their feelings in a positive way. We already know them, you know, I say it every week. What we say in the Peace Circle stays in the Peace Circle. Unless, of course, you want to tell your parents, because those are your parents and they're the people that are here to protect you. Inevitably, it progresses into deeper praises or deeper problems, and it's just getting them to feel comfortable and to build that trust and to know that it's okay for them to express themselves. This 4th grade, you know, stuff's gonna happen. And so even if it's just me with 2 students solving a problem, they already have that kind of procedure down of knowing, okay, it's my turn to talk and this person's gonna listen. And then it's that person's turn to talk and I'm going to listen. So they have that kind of give and take, which is something that has to be taught.
I think students, I've found that they find their classmates more approachable, and I think that's a point where they are also learning the language that they can use when they want to turn their anger, for example, into I statements in terms of feelings and such.
The Victim Impact Program helps juvenile offenders become more aware of the impact that crime has on victims. The program focuses on informing offenders of the long-term harm they have caused the victims, their families, and the community.
We think it's important to put the victims front and center in the Victim Impact Program. Because victims are so left out of the crime process traditionally. The Victim Impact Program, or VIP, is a kind of a different kind of restorative justice in that it doesn't bring in the direct victim of a crime with the offender in that particular crime, which is the kind of restorative justice that more people are familiar with. It's a kind of restorative justice where we take a group of, well, it could be anyone, but the way that we do the program right now, it's a group of offenders, often confined in an institution, not necessarily, and we bring in different victims of crimes, or we call them recovering victims of crime, to talk to them, to tell these offenders what happened to them.
I actually enjoy the kids because I've never been disrespected in any way, and going to juvenile hall, youth center, and actually help talk to these kids, show them my side of what I lost, what my family has gone through, and what it has done to my family.
So I go in there and I'm talking about the crime and what took place, the loss of my daughter, and what it has done to us, what murder stands and how it affects us.
The interesting thing about the Victim Impact Program is even though similar programs have documented reductions in recidivism in adult populations, that the people who often get the most out of the Victim Impact Program are the victims themselves. Because they're used to people saying, well, we don't really want to hear from you. Why don't you, you've talked about, you know, the way you were hit by the drunk driver enough. We've heard that, we know that, we want you now to go on with your life and be normal again, which is not helpful to them. So the Victim Impact Program, they get to tell their story over and over again, which any trauma victim needs in order to achieve healing and closure.
Running into them years later and having them walk up to me and say, oh, you're Cheryl Ward, aren't you? I heard you talk. And then they'd tell me like some date 5 years ago that they heard me talk. And they told me the date and the place they were. So you start understanding you really do make a difference when you do this, that they're remembering you, they remember what you said.
I just love it when, I heard Cheryl say it earlier, you know, when somebody comes from the street just tells you, I heard you talk before. I was in juvenile hall and you changed my life, and it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to know that you've helped somebody.
So as a whole, we're really starting to look at restorative justice and how it can be used across systems to transform an entire city, an entire county. And we're looking at what are the things that we have in common. And I could say, hey, I'm doing positive behavior interventions and supports. My goal is to reduce suspensions and expulsions and to help teach kids the social skills that they need to be able to behave and get along with each other in school. And Restorative Justice Partners comes in and says, hey, guess what? We have great curriculum for teaching kids what to do, right, when they have a conflict. We can give kids those skills. We can give teachers skills that they need to be able to build community in their classroom and to teach about the positive values that your PVIS school has. So we're able to look across a whole system and say, where are the intersections and how can we start to work together so that we can have a larger impact, so that every kid in every school is able to participate in restorative justice.
Being a volunteer for the Victim Offender Reconciliation Program, or being a director for Restorative Justice Partners, or being a volunteer in some of the other programs gives an opportunity for people that want to be involved in the community to help resolve conflict and bring peace to the community.
and we don't do it alone. We're small here. RJP is very small, and but I think we're big because we're connected. We're connected to a bigger community, and we partner not because it's a nice feel-good thing to do, but out of necessity to get the job done.
I'm just feeling like the ideas of Restorative Justice Partners are being spread. I hear about them in other contexts. People know about them and they didn't before. So that part is very encouraging to me, that what we are doing does in fact make a difference on a daily basis.
In our society, we're very accustomed to looking at punishment, stopping the bad guys, and that kind of model of justice, and so that we don't, we're not as attuned to the value of investing maybe a fraction of the amount of money in things that actually have more opportunities for better outcomes. We tend to think, oh, well, we've spent all this money over here, we don't have any money for this. And it's one of the things that I really focus on in many arenas, is having us step back and say, wait a second, let's just shift this conversation a little bit, and let's at least do some investing in these things that really have a track record of creating the kinds of conditions that make our communities healthier and safer, and the people in them also, healthier, happier.
There is a potential to take restorative justice to an entirely new level at our county and across the state, because restorative justice it fundamentally fits with community building, it fundamentally fits with school climate transformation, it fundamentally fits with juvenile justice transformation, and we've just barely, we're barely even using it to the potential that it could be in terms of transforming systems. And so the work that we've done so far is great, and I think the only thing that's missing is that we haven't done enough, right? We need more.
Everybody could stand to learn the process of what restorative justice can teach us, and that's what we need to be doing. It needs to be more out there and not talked about like it's some kind of softy little thing, because never, if you go face to face with a person that you're having an issue with, is that soft. That's the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. So once you do that, it's amazing what happens from there.